Hello and welcome to Cinema Craptaculus Presents the Expanded Universe. From movies to TV series to toys to pop culture to streaming series to pretty much anything under the sun, this is your safe space for all things geeky and where you can get your geek on. This is your host, John H.H. Ford, and with me as always are my Geektacular co-hosts.
This is Doc.
And S'more.
I just edited out like 5 total mess-ups on that intro.
Well, Ford, you can look at your script. No one can actually see us on the podcast.
It just, there shouldn't be a script. This is like our 40th episode, so we should not need a script.
But
wait, you guys have a script?
Well, there's some podcasts literally where people write them out. Like they're like, those are more of those like true crime ones, I think.
You guys have teleprompters?
I do.
You guys are like all high tech.
I do.
Can you see my eyes reading the teleprompter?
I don't make fun of teleprompters like certain politicians who made fun of them and now use them.
It's not fair.
Don't. I'm editing it out. Nothing. We're not sullying our podcast. What are we talking about in this podcast? Because the last one was Oscars. And, it's been, 2 months? Not even. But it's been a while.
I'm thinking Geek Free for All. We speak our minds and talk about what we need to talk about.
It's been a while since we've really gabbed about, what it is to geek out on, and I know there's just such a downer news world out there, and rightfully so. The Hollywood strikes ended, production has been slow to kick back into gear, and stuff getting canceled or shelved altogether. And so, with bad stuff around the world, thought it'd be a good idea for us to talk about what we're excited about, the movies, series, all that stuff.
So like a feel-good podcast.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's a really good idea, because remember like years ago we were at Ford's place when he lived side of the pond, and it was just one evening we sat down and we just were rambling and started recording, and that's kind of like the origin of the podcast, just like verbal vomit. It's like whatever came to mind, train of thought, we were just talking about it. Movies and TV shows, entertainment.
That's true. But were we imbibing at the time?
Yeah, I remember, and I went back and we listened to it, and it was like, oh my gosh. You could hear the clinking of the glass and that's fine if you're Bill Maher and,
slurping. The night we recorded, we're like, oh my gosh, this is gold. The next day, Ford texted, what the hell were we doing last night?
Oh, it's just so... it's like Robert Shaw when he did the Quint speech drunk. He's like, it'll be great, Stevie. And then like Steve's like humoring him. And then the next day when he's sober up, he's like, yeah, I'd like to do that again.
But see, out of that chaos came the beauty that is the expanded universe.
All right, well, to kick us off into this topic where we're going to literally talk about like what movies and TV shows are coming out, what we're excited about, maybe what we're already watching, I am going to do a pop quiz.
Damn.
Oh, no.
Why didn't you give us a heads up?
Oh, okay.
Quiz the Geeks. All right, this is a quick one. This is just to sort of kind of like segue us into this whole conversation. All right, there's only 3. So who can name the top 10 most viewed series on Netflix this week? S'more. Okay, your hand went up. You buzzed in.
Okay, I believe the answers are Avatar: The Last Airbender, 3 Body Problem, and Ripley. You said
10.
Oh, you want 10? Oh, they said 3. They're the top 10.
3 questions, but he wants There's 3 questions, but he wants the top 10.
If 3 is all you have, that's fine.
I don't watch that much Netflix.
Can you think of any other? You have 30 seconds. Can you think of any others?
I'm not going to do any better.
Okay, so S'more gave us Avatar, Ripley, and what was the other one?
3 Body Problem.
Well, good for you. You got 2 of those correct. The top 10, the week that we're recording this, 3 Body Problem. It's actually at number 4. Mm-hmm. And Ripley is at number 7. Mm-hmm. Doc, do you want to add in any you can just think of off the top of your head?
I don't even know if this is a Netflix show, The Diplomat.
It is a Netflix show. It is actually fairly popular. Did not crack the top 10. I'll go ahead and just read it off real quick just so we can kind of get an idea. Magic Prank Show with Justin Willman, who did Magic for Humans. Very funny. He's kind of like magical J.J. Abrams when you see him.
Lots of lens flare?
Right. No, he looks like him. But no, the Magic for Humans was his first Netflix series. It had about 3 seasons. Really funny, great magic. And then this is like his follow-up where he pranks people, so probably more in the Jackass. Okay.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Magic for Humans? So
that was his original show, and this one's called The Magic Prank Show. So
okay.
I think it just came out.
Was there magic for dogs? Magic for leprechauns?
I think that was pitched. Magic for dinosaurs was hard because dinosaurs don't exist, so he got escorted out of the office. That baby reindeer, I'd like to talk about that one later. The Gentleman, Ripley, you said that. Bad Dinosaurs, these are all like season 1s and limited series. Parasite, The Gray, The Three-Body Problem. Files of the Unexplained, Neil Brennan, Crazy Good, that's Stand Up, and Unlocked, a jail experiment.
Am I just old? I never heard 90% of these shows I've never heard of.
But there you go. All right. Well,
I've heard of Parasite the Grey.
The next question is, who can name the remake that recently premiered on one of the big streamers? And which streamer was it?
Very vague. Oh, got it.
Who can name...
remake movie?
Yes.
On Prime Roadhouse.
Bonus points. Can you name the director and star?
Star is Jake Gyllenhaal, the director.
It is Doug Liman of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Bourne Identity, and of course Swingers. Yes. Last one. This is the last question. This is get this whole conversation going. Who can name up to 10 of the movies coming out this summer in the cinemas?
Go
Tell you
for
what,
it.
because I feel like Doc's going to ace this one. I really want to see S'more's answers.
Deadpool.
All right, Deadpool.
Yeah.
Wolverine. Yes.
Superman Legacy. Is that
No.
this year? No, that's next year. Okay. Drumline 2. Electric Boogaloo. Challengers of the Fantastic. Oppenheimer 2. After the Bomb.
After the bomb.
Dark Barbie. The Barbie Poor Things crossover.
You know, my favorite part about this is not the clever titles, is that Smorkin just assumes that these sequels will come out like within months after the original release. Because, what is this, 1942? And then the next installment comes out in 6 months.
Could happen. Isn't Kevin Costner making a 2-part, 6-hour each long film that's coming out in the same year?
Yeah, and speaking of which, because we brought up film sequels that come out right after the other. Obviously, Matrix, was it Revolutions, came out months after Matrix Reloaded or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Back to the Future 3 came out within like 7 months of Back to the Future 2.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Costner's opus, I think, comes out within 30 days of the first
30
part, which
days?
is, I think it's like,
Why?
It's called Horizon, an American Saga, Part 1 and 2, and I think Part 1 is like June, and Part 2 is July, and I'm like, if you're a cinema, do you like have to pull the first one just so people don't get confused?
And do you want to trash your box office like that? You're not going to make any
And what if
money.
people don't know it's in parts, and they show up to the second one, and they're like,
At the beginning, it's going to have a message that's going to say, this is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, go back, walk into Auditorium 3.
Previously on Kevin Costner's Horizons Laid-Back Trail.
Is it possible Kevin Costner already has like a deal in place with the streamer? Maybe he's already made some money, so then they release it in theaters.
I saw the trailer and I got a real whiff of like, this is meant for television. Like, I know everybody's excited for him returning to the Western genre, but there was something about the way it was shot that felt a little Paramount Plus.
So cheap.
Maybe it's in theaters for like Oscar contention or something like that. So maybe it was meant to be, on Paramount Plus. It's pretty good, or Kevin Costner's behind it. Let's put it in the theaters because 30 days later, that's a little too close together. Like they should have waited like 3 months.
When it goes to Paramount Plus, it'll probably be like 5 installments, like a mini series. Kind of like the Snyder Cut.
I'm going to be honest. Do Westerns make money at the box office anymore?
We'll find out, won't we?
I mean, what was the last hit Western you can think of?
Well, it's like going back to what I was saying about the streaming services and maybe it being made for a streaming service. Right now, like Paramount has like a handful of like Westerns. I'm not really familiar with them, but they all have like their titles are like a bunch of years, like 18 something or.
Taylor Sheridan is sort of the Shonda Rhimes of Paramount Plus, meaning he's got this whole world. I don't know if it's all connected to Yellowstone or because some of the series I think are not connected, but 1923 is a prequel, and there's there's an even earlier one. And Costner had some sort of dispute with the production, and there was question whether he would come back and finish his own show that he made a hit. But I think he's sort of made amends. And you're right. I think maybe this Western, I think this new Western is released by Warner Brothers. So, but real quick, to finish out the top 10, Doc, do you want to jump in and throw out, can you get a list going of movies? Not that S'more was necessarily wrong. For all we know, Dark Barbie could be they've had it in the can and they're going to just spring it on us.
Does Furiosa count as a summer movie?
Yes. Yeah. I think anything like May 2nd on is considered a summer movie now.
When
right?
does Beetlejuice, when does that come out?
I'd heard like early September, but that feels like a date that could flux. But that's technically summer, yeah?
Borderlands.
Yeah?
Oh, how about Joker 2?
Oh, Folie du.
Fall. That's fall.
Oh, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Is that too soon?
Yeah. Why don't we just use
the
that?
Fall Guy.
Thank you for playing. Quiz the Geeks.
Well, you guys did just fantastic on this pop quiz. I
Did we?
think that
Hey, really quick, I just want to point out that I raised my hand for the third one, and you said s'more, and I was like, wait a minute, I was the one.
No, I think the game show host, has absolute discretion to choose. It's sort of like an absolute immunity thing.
Or
like
benevolent dictatorship.
Technically, the law says that the buzzer decides the contestant, but I think the host has full power, immunity.
Suck it, Trebek! This is a free-for-all, y'all, just to let you know.
Yeah. Going back to the first question, you were talking about TV shows. What are some of the TV shows that you guys are looking forward to?
I would say Cobra Kai, season 6 and final season. You know, the thing is that they already announced that there's a new imagining of a Karate Kid movie with Ralph Macchio back as Daniel LaRusso and Jackie Chan's character from the remake they did with, was it Jaden Smith?
Wait, didn't he play Mr. Miyagi in the remake?
No, it wasn't Mr. Miyagi. First of all, it was in China, and he was a different character, which is good. And he taught Kung Fu, but they called it the Karate Kid.
Oh, you know, America, racism.
They're combining the two franchises, which is a bit odd.
It's a cinematic universe. It's a Cobra Kai cinematic universe.
It's kind of a spoiler that Daniel LaRusso, for whatever, will not die in the series, because clearly he lives on to do, unless this is sort of somewhere in the timeline.
I don't think he was going to die. Like, the series is a little bit more lighthearted.
Right. Was he ever in jeopardy in the series?
I think he was supposed to die. I think he's supposed to snap his finger at the end of the competition and say, I am the Karate Kid. And he snaps and saves everybody. I think that was always planned. He and Johnny has got his shield. And
Johnny America?
There,
okay.
Yeah, he's there. They've had their differences, but he really appreciates Daniel's sacrifice.
Does he go back in time to end up with, damn it, I just ruined the joke. What's her name? Elizabeth Shue?
Yeah.
In the 80s?
Yeah. They have their final, they have one more 80s dance. They listen to Cruel Summer.
Or they're listening to I am a man who would fight for your honor.
Nope. Editing it all out.
That's a good song to slow dance to.
No,
It is.
It's not. It's really not. It's not a good song at all.
For our listeners, we just have to warn you. John's a little bit sensitive about that song.
Yeah, I get triggered by
Words like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
John's shooting daggers at me right now. If looks could kill, I'd be dead.
I'm just keeping the ball rolling. So, what are some other series?
How about you? What shows are you looking forward to?
Stranger Things: The Conclusion.
Is that this year or is that 2025?
I thought it was this summer. I could be off.
No, it's not this summer. Yeah, unfortunately, the strikes have pushed a lot of stuff back. Stranger Things might be next year. I think they started filming just in January. I don't know if it'll be ready for the end of the year, but I think maybe next year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. It's supposed to be the final season, so they can take the landing.
Hopefully, because last season was pretty damn good.
That was a really strong season.
Doc, you bring up a good point about the strikes, and so it's hard to tell. I did not look to see what was coming back. I'm kind of like S'more. I'm just making assumptions. Like Only Murders in the Building, I know they're shooting, so I'm assuming that comes out later in the year. What We Do in the Shadows, its final season.
Looking forward to that.
I'm assuming that comes out this year. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about all the stuff that's coming. It doesn't have to be this year. It's the stuff we're looking forward to.
Right.
Yeah, me too. What We Do in the Shadows, final season. I'm glad I stuck around because first season I watched it solo. I was about to drop it after I started watching with the Fords, and I got back into it, and I haven't stopped watching it since. And it's just hilarious. I love that show. I
go back to certain episodes, like if we're just needing to watch it, we'll just go back and rewatch it because as standalones, they're very funny, and it's not dated humor really. You know what I mean? It's not overly topical. Honestly, I don't know what else I'm into because so many shows I watch kind of have wrapped.
Well, there's one other show that I'm looking forward to as a Marvel fan. This is going to be appearing on Disney Plus. Daredevil Born Again, which is the continuation of the Netflix series, which I loved absolutely so much.
Yeah, that's a tough needle to thread because they have to please the fans of the real violent adult Netflix version, but sew it into the Marvel universe. It was always a part of the MCU originally, and then they kind of went away and made it sort of their
right
sites, and now they got to bring them all back. And what did you guys think of, real quick, of bringing Matt Murdock back through the way they did with She-Hulk? Were you kind of put off by the comedic aspect of it, or did you think it was kind of a fun way to introduce people who hadn't seen the original series?
Well, I'll be perfectly honest. At first, I thought it was a little bit odd because they brought him back in a different costume, which was an homage to his original costume in the comics. But then I got used to it. I appreciated it. And I realized that, okay, this is how Marvel usually operates. A character that will get their own film later usually appears in someone else's production. I know a lot of fanboys sort of cried foul over the portrayal, but I thought it was fine. I'm assuming that Born Again, he will not quite be that type of Matt Murdock, because this Matt Murdock was a little lighthearted. In Daredevil, he's usually a little bit more serious, so that's what I'm assuming they were going to do. But, I enjoyed it. It was fine.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the chemistry between Charlie Cox and Tatiana Maslany.
Mm-hmm.
Banter going back and forth. I enjoyed that. Yeah, it was definitely more lighthearted. And I think in the Netflix series, he did have moments like that. But it's, if all the rumors are to be believed, or I guess there have been reports that the original take that they were going for the Disney Plus series was different, and they went back to the drawing board and they retooled a bunch, the whole season. So I think now it's going to be the tone will be more along the lines with the Netflix show. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. I'm just really happy they brought back Charlie Cox. I was afraid that they were going to recast, but they didn't. Thank goodness. Charlie Cox is amazing.
And it sounds like they've got, John Bernthal back as the Punisher. Sorry, I don't know if that's a spoiler. It's kind of been in the trades. I feel like you're right. Like when people listen to, if they're fans of the show, then nothing's spoilerish because they probably know more than we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And we all remember that moment when Charlie Cox made his appearance in No Way Home.
So good.
Audience, you could hear it in the theater.
I think there's a general expectation that if they do a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, that Matt Murdock will be a part of that. Meaning that since he's in that world, he's a New York street level character, he'll have his introduction in the TV series. Why would you not have him with Spider-Man on some level? And I'm assuming they're going to do another one. It's weird.
Yeah.
The internet is so weird with Spider-Man right now. It's weirder than James Bond. Sometimes I see clickbait that says Sam Raimi's going to come back and direct Tobey Maguire, and I'm thinking, no, he's not. Then it's like
it's a possibility. Like Sony loves that Spider-Man money, and we know how Madam Web went. So it's like if you can tell us, like if Marvel Studios can tell Sony, hey, why don't you focus on Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4, and we'll work on our own Spider-Man 4. And it's like at this point, the audience has been trained that there are multiple spider people because of the multiverse, that it might be a thing. I think there's some money to be made there. If they do it, I'm open to it. Let's go for it. Let Sony do it. But word on the street, like you were saying about Daredevil being in Spider-Man, that is the word, that Kingpin is going to be in it. They left off. Did you guys see Echo?
Yes, I did.
Interest?
I saw it.
Okay, when they got to the end, they have just a quick scene where they talk about Kingpin's aspirations, what he wants to do. So that can work into the script. They can work that into the script of Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland. Yeah,
well,
I look forward to that as well.
Question for you, because I read initially that Spider-Man 4, MCU Spider-Man 4, will be primarily street level battles and heroes. However, there's another rumor going about that Sony wants to continue the multiverse. So they're going to be doing multiversal things instead.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And supposedly they're at a point where they're in agreement now. They had to make a compromise. Yeah, you're right. The MCU wanted to have a more street level. They wanted to have Kingpin in there, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and possibly another Avenger. I've heard Ant-Man make an appearance. But yeah, Sony really wanted to continue the whole multiverse thing. I think the MCU wanted to kind of close that out by the end of the next Avengers or the next two Avengers movies. And Sony is asking for them to leave that in place because I think they want to be able to use different Spider-Man because that's all they have. It's like the other movies like Morbius, Madam Web, and most likely Kraven. They didn't do well at the box office. So it's like people just want Spider-Man.
Well, it sounds like we've leapfrogged over from TV to movies, but before we close the door on TV shows, is there anything you're watching right now that you're kind of excited about? Like So how I have yet to jump in on it, believe it or not. Maybe I'll do it tonight. How are you liking it? So, hey, for all you non-nerds, this is Casey Kasem, and here's our top 40 of cartoon theme songs. This was about mutants in the 90s. So X-Men 97, I can't believe they call it that. How is it? You recommend it, but that's a tall order to try to bring back not just everybody's childhood, but
really quick. Speaking of the theme song, the other day, my girlfriend and I were at Disneyland. She heard another man doing that exact same thing as he walked, and then days later she heard me doing it. And she goes, "What is that?"
If I didn't know it was X-Men, I would have thought it was Whitney Houston. Da-na-na-na-na-na, I'm your baby tonight.
If you do know the history of the theme, that's sort of involved. That theme is somewhat of an amalgamation of that and other different various music sources.
Yes, we do not want Chaim Saban and his brother to sue us, so we will
Forget everything
we will not besmirch any of that old Saban music publishing world.
Hey, we'll be right back. And now, back to the show.
You're digging the new cartoon revisit. Is it pick up right where the old show ended?
Yes. I have to say, I haven't really been, shocker for people who know me, an X-Men fan since the 90s. When this show was announced, a little bit skeptical. I started watching it, and not only did it bring back some elements of my youth, it got me excited about a franchise I haven't been excited about in years. The show is excellent.
And that's such a smart move because the Fox franchise, warts and all, was very successful, but also just cemented. I mean, my God, you're still seeing Hugh Jackman playing the role over 20 years later. But the concept of the X-Men, they have to figure out how to get people kind of forget the old franchise that it's been around forever. And then I don't know what legally they still have to kind of are obligated to continue. But to redo it, they need to get people kind of excited about the idea all over again. I think the animated show seems like a brilliant way to do it, yeah?
True. And I also think that's part of the reason. I mean, I'm no expert on this, but I think that's part of the reason why Marvel engaged in the multiverse, because the MCU knew that at some point they would acquire the rights for the X-Men again, and they would have to somehow introduce this into an already formed universe. Boom, your magic solve is, we have a multiverse. You guys are familiar with this concept. Here is our MCU concept of this team in this universe.
My problem with the multiverse is that there's something, and whether it's in the DC world or in the MC world, I just want to be on Earth and all of the fantastic things that happen to my Earth, because you kind of think of it as if these characters and this world existed in my world. And when you've got all these different Earths, then it's just kind of like the stakes of you lose sight of the actual planet where it all started, because now it's like, well, am I supposed to care about these other Earths? And now, are they going to come to my Earth? Does my Earth even matter? Does it not matter? Those are my concerns, my nerd concerns.
Well, if we trust the direction of the MCU and have a pretty interesting idea about what they're going to do about this whole multiverse question, there's a little movie called Secret Wars that's coming out. And if Secret Wars follows any of the storylines that were presented in the comics, then the days of the multiverse are numbered. Don't quote me on that. I can't confirm it.
Not if Sony has anything to say about it.
That's
I
true.
think Wade Wilson is also going to throw a little bit of a dildo in the works.
No comment.
If you saw the trailer for Wolverine, he says, "I am Marvel Jesus."
Marvel Jesus.
I will say that there's a lot of shows I've watched that have wrapped. I did start The Diplomat, and I sometimes discover Netflix series, like I guess a lot of people do, after everybody else does, but not too far away to you can't catch up. So there is a season 2 announced, and it's a good show for people who like light political intrigue without sort of the violence of Jack Ryan and other spy shows. A little bit of romantic comedy, but not heavy-handed. The writing isn't quite Aaron Sorkin level, but it's not bad. I think there's good chemistry. Rufus Sewell's good. Kerry Russell's pretty good. So I'll stick with it.
Is this a continuation of Felicity? I mean, she graduated college, joined the CIA, and
yeah, it's actually a continuation of Mission Impossible 3. Her character did not actually die. She went on and she's like ends up as a diplomat at the British Embassy, the U.S. Embassy in Britain, and she's kind of being groomed for something much more important. Another show that I just finished, Derry Girls. For people who don't know that, it's an Irish comedy set in the 90s. A bunch of girls in high school equivalent in Ireland. Really funny. It's kind of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, only it's with Catholic Irish girls during the end of the conflict.
I'm sorry. Derry Girls? This sounds suspect.
Well, it takes place in Derry, Ireland. I think it was on the BBC. It's very funny, but it's over 3 seasons. And I just started, speaking of British shows, I started a show that actually is trending in the U.S. It's called Baby Reindeer. Have you guys heard of it?
No.
No, you mentioned it earlier, and I was like, let's go back
so
is that an animated series? What is that? Is that for kids?
No. It is the writer and star. It's based on an actual experience he had when he was a Scottish struggling stand-up in England. He came down to London, and he had this stalker, this woman, and that's the premise of the show. He plays him, not himself, but he basically plays a version, because he wrote this autobiographically, and he's nice to this woman who claims to be, this high-powered attorney and all, and she's clearly mentally imbalanced. And he's nice to her, and then she just latches on. I mean, it's charting in both countries. So we'll see if it becomes something that people talk about. But it's based on this guy's true story. It's on Netflix. Well, we've burned through a lot of like Marvel stuff, but obviously, so the big film of the summer we feel will be
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool, Wolverine. Talk about pressure.
Yes and no. I think the success of the last two Deadpool movies, even though they were at Fox, is really going to help this. I think that Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine is going to help this because he's a fan favorite. And judging by just the previews alone on, YouTube, it got some ridiculous amount of views, like 10 million or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I think Marvel has focused on this because they need a hit and a no-brainer right now. And I think this is a no-brainer. I think this movie's going to make money.
It might be a no-brainer.
It sounds like they're pretty confident with it. They'll be hopping from realities. They can have like a variant. They can just have a good time with it, and hopefully the audience will too.
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting that to see the movie to know like we'll be able to spot those parts where like the shutdown happened because it was off for a while.
Yeah,
I don't know how 6 months because it crested the writer's strike and the actor's strike. So that's a long time, So I wonder if we'll be able to tell when you're watching the movie, like
by muscle size.
By muscle size.
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are gonna be ripped. The other scenes are gangly.
Yeah.
Padded suits.
There are some films that that speaking of sequels, there is a Furiosa, a Mad Max
Mad World
prequel.
He's really mad this time.
Well, she's mad. It's actually about Furiosa, who was originally played in the first one by Charlize Theron, and
you ain't mad.
And so it's a Mad Max saga, but there's no Mad Max because she doesn't meet Max until that movie that came out in, was it 2015 or whatever, with Tom Hardy.
Well, enlighten me. Is this supposed to be a young Furiosa because Anna Taylor-Joy's playing her?
Yes.
I'm confused by that.
Origin story.
Okay, I'm a little confused by that.
Chris Hemsworth is playing like a over the top bad guy with Bradley Cooper's nose from Maestro.
Oh, Chris Hemsworth. Chris is just taking anything he can take, can't he?
Hollywood's trying to have a zero footprint by 2030 with their prosthetics. They're going to reuse it.
Yeah, it's a prequel because when the movie starts, scenes or flashbacks when she's young. After, as an adult, she doesn't have the arm.
It's going to be like Crispin Glover's character in Hot Tub Time Machine, where we're going to, because we know she has to lose it. So every scene, like, is this it? We're going to be wincing, like, this is it.
But I know the arm, like cybernetic arm, looks cool, but it's like I don't think they had to get to it in this movie. Like if they're hoping for a franchise, they could have saved it.
Could have.
She was older.
Did we need to have Indy get his scar, whip, fear of snakes in one afternoon? That's all I'm asking.
Did we have to know that Anakin was this crybaby whiny boy? Sorry, Star Wars fans.
Other sequels, If. No, so that's not a sequel. That's that's a Bread song. No, If is what is that? That's Ryan Reynolds. It's basically a Pixar movie.
I didn't see the first one. What was it called? It's called Maybe.
It was called What? And then this one's called If.
It's called Why is Gamora?
It's gonna be What X If. Speaking of which, going back to that Godzilla movie real quick that came out, not to be totally ADD, but why was it called Godzilla X Kong? Was it Godzilla times Kong?
Well, no. The X is silent, from my understanding.
I heard X is gonna give it to you.
X is gonna give it to you. Going to give it to you. What?
Well, because the previous one was Godzilla versus Kong. So this one, they didn't want you to confuse it, thinking that they were going to be like fighting the whole time. They do have their disagreement in this one. You remember Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet? It was Romeo plus Juliet.
Because it was for the 90s. The 90s were cool.
Does it kind of ever drive you nuts when directors get a hold of a franchise and it so needs to have that number or Roman numeral after it, but they get all like kind of pretentious and just don't? Like X-Men. X2, X-Men United. And so you're expecting like X3. Nope, it's just X-Men Last Stand. Like, oh no, we're too good to have a 3.
Because when you get to a third chapter of a film, the films aren't usually fresh anymore, so you want to freshen it up.
Nobody wants Roman numeral 4, by the way, after Superman Quest for Peace.
No, you want a title. Titles are cooler.
Superman 4 killed the 4.
Hey guys, which was the first movie to have a number for the sequel?
That's a great question.
That wasn't a part, but had an actual number?
Well, basically, before that, the movie would have a title, and then movies didn't really have a number.
T2.
Second part.
I want to say Rocky 2, but I feel like it was earlier than that.
No? Okay.
Was it?
It's not T2?
More?
Terminator 2?
Because Godfather Part 2 is Part 2. But
Godfather Part 2 was the first one to do it.
But it's not the first one to just have a 2. Like, that would be like Rocky 2, probably.
No, Godfather 2 came out before Rocky, didn't it?
No, but that's like Godfather Part 2. I'm talking about just going straight to like 2, just skipping the part. It's got to be, and Rocky 2 was Roman numerals.
Okay, how about Breaking 2, TOO, Electric Boogaloo? Does that count?
I think it does. Speaking of 4, there's a 4th Despicable Me coming out this summer. Is anybody excited?
I don't care.
I had no idea. I thought they had switched to just making Minion movies now.
Apparently not. Illumination makes these films so economically that it's just prints money. And then Steve Carell is a voice in that movie If that we just talked about, which is Ryan Reynolds. And what's the premise? Like all of these imaginary friends like actually exist, right?
Sure.
Yeah, pretty much all the imaginary friends after kids grow up. They don't need imaginary friends anymore, but I guess they actually still exist somewhere.
They're all Puff the Magic Dragons.
Puff the Magic Dragon.
It feels like a live-action Pixar movie. Speaking of which, Pixar has Inside Out 2 coming out, right?
Yes.
I haven't seen Inside Out 1.
It was pretty good. I mean, it was, it's been like 10 years now, right?
It's been a decade? Really? No.
It will be.
These studios have so many IPs now that these movies are just spaced out, because they're focusing on other movies. So when they finally get to this, the sequels, all these years have gone by. How many years have gone by since Shang-Chi?
There's an Alien movie coming out, but isn't there also an Alien series coming out on Hulu or FX?
I'd heard about a series, but yeah, the movie's called Alien Romulus.
Oh my God, enough fucking predators, enough aliens.
Well, I have a grievance, guys. I have a grievance. To slightly alter the subject. Chris Hemsworth, what are you doing? I just saw the trailer for Transformers 1.
Like while we were talking, or?
Yes, I looked it up online.
S'more just like tuned out. We were having a conversation and he was just...
He's like, I don't care about baby reindeer and stalking. I'm going to watch this trailer. Yeah, I saw that too. Oof.
What are they doing? Is this a combination of like a Pixar film with a live action? What's happening? Why is it a comedy with young Transformers, young Optimus Prime, young Megatron? Why?
They're trying something different. Like we've had so many live action movies. Yeah, I wasn't really feeling it, but who knows? There might be some people who give it a shot who will watch.
But they made them almost like buddy cops. They're cracking jokes.
Yeah, I kind of got the Thor and Loki vibe where they're on an adventure together. They don't like each other, kind of bagging on each other.
Is Chris Hemsworth Optimus Prime? So he's gonna sound like Thor
with the modulated voice. And Ryan Tyree Henry is Megatron.
He's going to pull out his Red Dawn / Star Trek JJ American accent and maybe just lower the pitch is my guess.
Well, you get a chance, John. Watch the trailer.
I did, and I didn't want to say anything in case like one of you guys or both of you are like, yeah, it looks really fun, and I'm sitting there in the corner just going, looks no.
No.
I don't want to put a turd in your punch bowl, but no, it doesn't look good.
No, it's already there.
I'm connected to animation. I'm very aware of how hard people work on these films, so I'm sure the people that worked on it, yay, employment.
Oh yeah, agree. Look, we don't disparage anyone working in the industry making a living. We salute you. We respect it. We're just talking about the final products and the ideas behind it.
Before we wrap up, I thought we mentioned another sequel is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is weird because Planet of the Apes sequels also end up being kind of prequels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're building towards the world of the Heston one, right? Kind of?
Yeah. That's what they're doing. Yeah, they're building up to the movies from the 60s.
Crazy.
I haven't seen any of those films.
I heard they were good. The Matt Reeves and...
They're not bad. It's like some of them like vary, but CGI is good. The stories are pretty good. Yeah, it's like a majority of the characters are computer-generated apes.
And I think in this version, there is a time jump from the last one, so they're very much into a future where apes are not just intelligent, but they are dominant. Humans are subjugated to kind of the way they are presented in the original Charlton Heston movie. And, it's post-apocalyptic, I'm kind of guessing, because humans are not running the show.
John, quick, do your Charlton Heston impersonation.
Get your goddamn filthy hands off me, you damn dirty ape. I'm going to redo that in post. I'm going to just cut in the actual audio of Rick Charlton Heston. Damn, Ford's good. I haven't seen any of them. I don't know if I want to see it. I'm really not big on the future looks like shit kind of movies. The world is scary enough. I'm just not a big post-apocalyptic fan,
Not a fan of the Terminator franchise, huh? Ford?
Just, Hunger Games or all those things. No, I'm not a fan. I'm scared enough of the present. I don't need to be scared.
Not a fan of The Matrix? No?
Not anymore. You see that last movie?
The Matrix came out before things got really nutty in the world. What about Twisters from Warner Brothers? We've got Glenn Powell, who's sort of the big leading man flavor.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
Is this going to just be a reimagining, or do you think they're like the kids of Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt?
Are they chasing a twister that killed them before? What?
For revenge.
Revenge film?
They want revenge on the twisters.
It's like Jaws 4. This time it's personal.
This time the twister brings back up.
Like Moby Dick, the twister's my white whale.
Yeah, you show up with one twister, we'll show up with twisters.
When they announced this, I thought this was like direct to sci-fi or something like that.
Direct to sci-fi. Now direct to sci-fi, Twisters.
And then, of course, there's Kraven the Hunter, speaking of rounding things out to superheroes. Now, we have to qualify that this poor Aaron Taylor Johnson has just been, before this film even comes out, he has been tabloid fodder for people that think that he's the next James Bond, which puts pressure on this movie because people are going to believe that rumor and they'll go to it thinking, which is good for Sony in a way. Like they kind of want that rumor, but it's bad for what if he kind of is in contention and this film tanks?
Then he's screwed because just like almost every other Sony pick, with the exception of any Spider-Man movies and Venom, they tank.
Ooh, hard.
Has anyone seen Madam Web in the Skull?
Well, if he is in the running and this movie tanks, all I can say is there's a lot of actors out there.
Well, I didn't want to just make it a Bond topic, although I always do.
We're waiting for it. We thought it was going to. We assumed
we hadn't mentioned Bond in this episode. So
I will say that when Daniel Craig was announced, they announced the director Martin Campbell along with Casino Royale like 9 months before Daniel Craig was announced. The last I've heard from Barbara Broccoli is we haven't even thought about it. And so whenever I see these things that you guys or people we know send me, I go, yeah, I'm not clicking on that shit.
Well, a few things. Yeah, go back to the 60s, the Sean Connery era. Back then, they used to crank out the movies, like almost every year. Then they started kind of spacing them out more. They got pretty good use out of the actor back then. That's what you're saying about in the past. They've always chosen the director first and then after the actor. That's traditionally how they do it. I'm not saying Aaron Taylor Johnson will be James Bond, but they've made a lot of changes. Things have changed. Industry has changed. Heck, they killed off James Bond. Spoiler. They killed off James Bond in the last movie. So I think what they're doing is they're, moving forward, they're probably going to have like story arcs where they have an actor do 3, 4, 5 films, and then that version of Bond, his story ends, and then after they start over with a new. So it's not like they've done in the past, so they've kind of gotten rid of that tradition. So Amazon might be on them kind of saying, hey, we want to make our money back. So quick. And then how they do things can change. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying Aaron Taylor Johnson is who's going to be Bond. Things are in flux. Things are changing. I don't think they're going to continue doing things how they traditionally do.
Absolutely. And also their choice of who they get really depends on how they want to interpret the character. And they might want to try something just very different. They did something different with Daniel Craig. But even in Daniel Craig's time, if you look at how the world was, how sort of social mores were in 2006, it's changed a lot. And so It changed a lot between the 4th and 5th movie. So I think that the choice of who they get is going to really come down to why do this character now? Is he still relevant? Do we want to reinvent the wheel? And having said that, there is a show coming up. I don't think it's going to come out till next year, but it is a Bond show starring one of our favorite Marvel actors. Tom Hiddleston is returning for what will be season 2 of The Night Manager.
Oh, it's back. Nice.
As well, and they're going to do a season 3. So
nice.
they're going to revisit his, what was his name? Jonathan Pine, character from the John le Carré miniseries. There's no novel to base it on because le Carré did a one-off. But I believe Hugh Laurie is involved. So I don't know. His Richard Roper character, if you remember the miniseries, may not have met his untimely end.
What?
It'll be interesting because Hiddleston's older, and they're going to revisit the character older. But I love that series.
That series is brilliant. And you know what, Broccoli's, listen up. Just make Loki Bond. Just do it. Just do it. You'll make millions. People love him. Make Loki Bond. Do it. Do it now. Do it now.
I definitely wanted to bring the show up because I heard that they were going to have a follow-up season. We haven't heard too much about it, and I know that when the three of us were watching, we loved it. And then I know we loved Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Loki's good ending for the character. Glad that we're going to get more Tom Hiddleston.
And I hope they can bring back Olivia Colman because I thought she was a good kind of M sort of character for him. But
she's great. She's great in pretty much everything she does.
She is.
Well, guys, is there any other movie or TV show that we want to throw out?
Yes. I have a request. Actually, you know what? I have a slight quiz for you, John. Are you ready for this one?
Do I need to create a new little bumper theme, or can we just get to the question?
Pop quiz hot shot. What do you do?
All right. Can you sing the first few bars of the original Fall Guy theme in honor of the Fall Guy movie that's coming out?
We did forget Mr. Gosling's remake with Emily Blunt. Well, I'm not much to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. Yeah, I'm not one to kiss until I've been seen with Farrah. I don't know the rest of that.
Ever been seen with anything less than a 9?
I've blown up for Raquel Welch. I miss those days when TV actors forced their bad singing onto the show because they
One of the shows opened up with somebody sitting on a stool. And that was the opening.
What show is this?
We should do a whole expanded universe on TV themes.
Oh, yes, please.
Oh, shoot.
Please.
S'more would have a field day.
Also, how they evolved from season 1 to season 2, because the first season or the first episode of The Fall Guy, the theme song is 5 minutes. It's so long.
You guys know what the perfect theme song is? Kidding. I know Ford's frowning. He's I was hoping it was live action, older stuff.
I think that's a great song to end the show on.
Believe it
is a great song.
I'm walking on air.
No, well, that's great, but
Professor X, Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Magneto, Gambit, Tears.
First of all, we're going to get sued because your rendering sounded exactly like the actual version. That's going to get red flagged by YouTube.
They have software to flag it. It's going to track that down. It's a perfect match. There goes the episode. Thanks, S'more.
No problem. We'll start a GoFundMe to pay our legal bills.
Well, thanks so much for that.
Thanks again to those of you both openly geeky and closeted geeky for joining us this expanded universe journey. This has been Doc, and with me as always are my geektacular co-hosts,
John H.H.
and S'more. And remember that this is your safe space to talk about all things geeky and where you can get your shiny... God damn it, Ford.
And thank you for joining on this holiday craptaculous adventure.
Okay, here we go again. And remember that this is your safe space to talk about all things geeky and where you can get your geek on.
Geek out!
I might jump an open drawbridge.
I might roll a brand new car. 'Cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Eastwood such a star.
Thank you for listening to Cinema Craptaculus Presents, the expanded universe. We've got lots of fun topics coming up in the future, but if you have any suggestions, go ahead and find us on the socials at Craptaculus and let us know what you want us to talk about. Also, be sure to check out our flagship show on Cinema Craptaculus. Say that 3 times fast. Flagship show on Cinema Craptaculus. Cinema Craptaculus. It's the one that started it all with Stephanie, Dave, and John. We have a hoot and holler and good time reviewing some of the latest streaming films, so be sure to check it out. Until then, have a craptaculous rest of your week.